Hello everybody, I'm Silleaf, and today I'll be continuing Broken Dreams and Healing Hearts. Chapter 3, Nightmares and Bonding. When Izuku got to Aizawa's apartment, he could feel his anxiety starting to build up. He had been ignoring the feeling for the past few hours, but now it feels like it's going to explode. The greenette stared at the building, tapping his foot quickly against the car's floor. "It's alright, Izuku. We can wait here for a bit if you need to calm down," Eraserhead said calmly while placing a grounding hand on Midoriya's shoulder. "I'm fine, it's just..." His grip tightened on the seatbelt. "What if he doesn't like me? Sure, Aizawa's been nice to him, even after the whole Quirkless thing was spilled, but who's to say his husband won't be different?" "He will, kid. Trust me." The man let a small smile form on his lips, taking his hand off the teen's shoulder. Izuku looked into his eyes, looking for any form of deceit. Over the many years of being abused, Midoriya had learned to read people exceptionally well. When he didn't find anything, he shut his eyes and took a deep breath, his foot slowing down as he reopened them. "All right." The greenette undid his seatbelt and stepped out of the car, walking up beside Aizawa. "You like cats?" Izuku tilts his head slightly in confusion. "Yeah, why?" "Good. We have two of them. Bastard and Cloud. Zashi named Cloud if you couldn't guess." The teen let out a small chuckle. "You named one of your cats Bastard?" "He acts like one," Shota replies in a deadpan voice, holding the front entrance door open for Izuku. "I hope you don't mind taking the stairs. The elevator's been broken for 2 years. "I don't mind," he replies before they both fall into a comfortable silence. When they entered the apartment, Izuku was expecting a lot of things. Not a cat suddenly running up to them and pawing at his feet. The cat had pale white fur over most of its body, except for over its yellow left eye, the other one being blue. There was a light gray patch that was splattered over its left eye, as if someone threw a bucket of paint over it. The teen crouched down and held out his hand for it to sniff. "Hey, Cloud," he murmured, scratching behind her ears when she butted her head against Izuku's hand. Aizawa coughed next to him. It sounded an awful lot like a laugh, but when the greenette looked back up to check, Shota was already looking away. "What?" Izuku questioned while picking up Cloud and standing up. "Nothing," the underground pro said while schooling his expression and looking back at the teen. "Sho! Is that you?" a loud voice says from one of the other rooms. Izuku flinches so hard he almost drops the cat. He moves behind Aizawa slightly, his expression tense and alarmed. Shota makes no move to comment on Izuku's behavior. Instead, he toes off his boots and haphazardly kicks them under the coat hooks. "Quiet down, Zashi." Izuku watches him for a moment before glancing forward, watching as said man rounds the corner. He had long blonde hair that was pulled back into a messy bun, green eyes, and red-rimmed glasses. The teen instinctively takes a small step back. Yes, rationally, Izuku has no reason to be scared of Yamada, but he's reminded him too much of Kacchan, with the loudness and blonde hair. The blonde was talking to Aizawa, but he couldn't hear it. The only thing he could hear was ringing in his ears. Shit, he couldn't breathe. Why couldn't he breathe? Kacchan's not here. He can't hurt him. Midoriya shuts his eyes tightly as tears start to form at the corners. Shit. Breathe. He's not here. Breathe. 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 A small meow breaks him out of his panic, the ringing slowly starting to fade as he cracks his eyes open. Viridian eyes meet blue and yellow ones as he looks down towards where the sound came from. Cloud was still in his arms, only now she was staring at him. Right. He's at Aizawa's home. Kacchan's not here. Yamada's not Kacchan. The greenette inhales shakily, calming himself down before looking back up at Aizawa, pointedly not looking anywhere near where the blonde was. Shota was looking at him with concern. "You okay, kid?" he asks while moving towards him. Izuku replies with a jerky nod before shifting the cat to one arm, lifting the other one to sign a quick, "I'm fine." A small gasp from the blonde causes him to flinch and quickly peel his eyes off the underground pro and fix them on Hazashi. Sho! You didn't tell me the little listener knew sign language? Yamada exclaimed. Midoriya freezes. Little listener. Even if the last time he listened to the radio was almost 3 years ago now, he wouldn't have forgotten that voice. That voice was the only thing that helped him through the nights after Inko gave him a particularly bad beating and he was left curled up on his bedroom's floor, with only the shadows to provide him comfort. He remembers all the nights he'd sneak the old All Might themed radio out of his closet and would tune in to the only station available. Then, in the blink of an eye, all previous thoughts and opinions about the man, being like Katsuki, vanished, and his voice came back to him. Present Mike? He turns to Aizawa slowly. You're married to Present Mike? He asks slowly, pointing a shaky finger at said blonde. Mike's eyebrows raise. You know who I am? Aizawa smirks. Don't be so surprised. He even knew who I was. That's amazing, little listener. Most people don't recognize me out of costume, the blonde says with a small smile. Izuku nods. It was your voice. I used to listen to your radio station before my mom broke my radio. Also, the little listener thing kinda gave it away. Hasashi glances at Shota with an unreadable expression for a second, before Shota speaks up. Then, how'd you know who I was? There's a long pause before Izuku speaks again. They're not like the others. They won't make fun of him. Hopefully. I do analysis on heroes and their quirks. You patrol around where I live, or used to live. So I got to see you in action a lot. You're also my favorite hero because you basically fight quirkless. All Might used to be my favorite before. He trails off, his smile slowly fading. Aizawa places a gentle hand onto Izuku's curls, ruffling them slightly. I'll have to see those analysis sometime. The teen brightens back up again and gives a quick nod. Now, how's your headache? About an hour later, after Hasashi made Izuku eat something and take Tylenol for his headache, the greenette found himself laying down in the guest room. He was restless to say the least. Maybe it was the fact he was in someone else's home, or maybe it was the fact he had a bed for once. Whatever it was, though, it was keeping him awake. Midoriya huffed in frustration, lifting himself up on his elbows and looking at the time. 3:47 a.m. With a groan, the teen flopped back down, immediately regretting it as a sharp pain shot through his sides. Fuck, he muttered while curling into a fetal position, holding his sides. He forgot about the bruise from Aizawa's capture weapon. Although despite the pain, he couldn't be happier that he was saved. After all, if he would have died, he would have just proven everyone right. After the clock passed 4 a.m., Izuku just stared at the ceiling, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts and worries. No matter how hard he tried, sleep just seemed to evade him, slipping through his grasp like sand. The events of the day replayed in his head, each moment scrutinized and analyzed until he felt like he was living it all over again. What if Aizawa never caught him? What if he never went on that roof? Would he still be with his mother? The soft glow of the moonlight through his window did little to soothe his worries. He shifted positions, hoping to find a comfortable spot that might lure him into slumber. But his thoughts kept racing, keeping him wide awake. Frustrated with his inability to sleep, the teen finally threw off the covers and got out of bed. He shifted positions, hoping to find a comfortable spot that might lure him into a slumber. But his thoughts kept racing, keeping him wide awake. Frustrated with his inability to sleep, the teen finally threw off the covers and got out of bed. Hopefully, Aizawa and Yamada won't be mad, but he needs to be somewhere else. Anywhere else. He quietly made his way to the living room, hoping a change of scenery might help him calm his restless mind. The soft glow of the street lights filtered through the curtains, casting gentle shadows on the walls. He sank into the couch, pulling a blanket around his shoulders for comfort. The silence of the house was almost deafening, but in the solitude of the living room, he felt a small sense of relief. Maybe here, away from the confines of the guest bedroom, he could find a moment of peace. Izuku opened his eyes to a familiar room. He was back home. Shit. The atmosphere was heavy with tension, but that didn't compare to the voice he heard just in front of him. Why would you tell them, Izuku? His mother spoke in an eerily calm tone as she stood over him, her face contorted with anger. Why couldn't you just stay quiet, you useless child? She spat, stepping closer. The teen scrambled back, tripping back and onto the floor, a familiar fear gripping his heart as he stared into his mother's eyes, making him feel small and helpless. I didn't, he panicked, pushing himself further back. Don't lie to me, she snapped, causing him to flinch back hard. Tsk. I knew I should have left with your father. Now I'm gonna have to be stuck in jail because of you. What? He questioned as he glanced at her. His heart felt like it was pumping broken shards of glass instead of blood as he looked into Inko's expression. She looked disgusted, hateful, and the worst of all, regretful. Regretful towards him. I'm sorry, he said through teary eyes. When he went to blink them away, the scene around him changed. He was standing in his classroom, Kacchan's form looming over him. You useless Deku. You made it so I couldn't become a hero. Katsuki then shoved Izuku against the wall by the collar of his shirt, his palm burning with anger. You should have just fucking jumped when I told you. Then maybe you wouldn't have dragged my dreams down with your pathetic ass. Izuku looked up at his childhood friend turned bully and let the tears fall. I'm sorry, Kacchan, he choked out. If you're really sorry, then fucking leave me alone. Katsuki shoves Izuku once more, only this time, instead of being pushed into the wall more, he stumbles back into a black void. Kacchan's mocking laughter and taunts fill the empty space. The empty space that feels like it's staring at him, as if there were eyes everywhere. Izuku felt trapped, helpless, and scared. He fell to the floor, curling his knees up to his chest as he covered his ears. Shutting his eyes tightly, he wanted to leave. He doesn't want to be here. He wants Aizawa. Aizawa helped him last time. He wants Shota. Midoriya jolts up in a cold sweat, tears streaming down his face. He grabbed his chest, his fingers curling into the fabric of his shirt like a lifeline. The room felt suffocating. His heart was racing, and he couldn't breathe. Izuku, a tired and calm voice said next to him. The teen flinched back from it, pressing himself further back into the couch. It's Aizawa. I'm not going to hurt you. At that, the greenette peels his eyes away from his hand that was gripping his shirt and looked into familiar dark eyes. Izuku, give me your hand, he says calmly while holding his hand out. Izuku stares at the calloused hand for a while before Shota's words register in his brain, and he shakily puts his free hand into the underground prose. The dark-haired man slowly puts Izuku's hand on his chest and makes his breathing exaggerated. Breathe with me, okay? The only response Midoriya gives is a stiff nod. Slowly, with Aizawa's calming voice and grounding touch, Izuku slowly began to regain control over his swirling emotions. You okay now? The greenette took his hand away from Aizawa's and let go of his shirt, raising them after staring at them for a long moment. Yeah, just a nightmare. He sighed with shaky hands. Must have been one hell of a nightmare. You think you'll be able to sleep after this, or you want to stay up? Stay up, Izuku sighed before pulling his knees up to his chest and resting his chin on folded arms. Alright, problem child. You want to watch a movie or something? Aizawa said while grabbing the remote and handing it to Izuku. The only response Aizawa got before sitting next to the teen was a small nod. You're staying with me? Midoriya sighed with a confused expression, his head tilted to one side ever so slightly. Of course, kid. But what about your work? Don't you have it tomorrow? I don't want to bother you with something this pointless. Izuku was cut off by Shota grabbing his hands gently and setting them back on it to his knees. It's not pointless, he replies sternly before ruffling the greenette's curls. You had a nightmare and a panic attack. I'll stay with you as long as you need. The teen's viridian eyes started to feel damp as he looked at Aizawa, and he quickly wiped his tears away with one hand, nodding to the underground pro. They ended up settling on some pre-Quirk movie that had a popular actor at the time. They didn't even have to worry about waking up Hazashi as his hearing aids were out. As the movie played, Izuku found himself getting lost in the story. The gripping plot and dynamic characters drew him in, allowing the teen to momentarily forget about the nightmare and panic attack he had just moments before. Aizawa, sensing Izuku's gradual relaxation, remained quiet, occasionally glancing over to ensure that he was okay. The room was dimly lit, the soft glow of the television casting gentle shadows. The warmth coming from Aizawa and the tiredness that was starting to make his eyes heavier made Izuku feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. As the movie ended, Midoriya felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. The adrenaline from earlier had finally subsided, leaving him feeling drained. He glanced at Aizawa, who was also looking a bit wary. Without another word, Izuku shut his eyes. The soft hum of the TV playing in the background and the warmth of Shota sitting next to him finally allowed the greenette to rest. This time, however, there were no nightmares to wake him up. And in the morning, if Hazashi had a few photos of Izuku and Aizawa sleeping peacefully on the couch, then that was nobody's business. Alright everybody, that concludes Chapter 3 of Broken Dreams and Healing Hearts. I had originally planned to post this next weekend, but I'm going to post it a bit sooner than I had originally planned, as I had some free time and I thought, why not finish it? And I had also put out a poll for you guys and had gotten your opinion on it, and the majority of you had voted yes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and thank you for listening.